Hey, everybody. AI is advancing faster than most people know. And even people that are in AI are surprised at how fast it's advancing. Now, what I'm going to be telling you is really disturbing. It's something I haven't mentioned before. But this video, I'm going to explain how AI, LLMs, and these giant companies that are uh, developing this and pushing it forward are actually consuming humans. They are taking people's livelihoods, their knowledge, paying them very little, and then throwing them out like a piece of garbage. I need to let you guys know what's going on because this actually will affect you. I don't care if you're a janitor in a high school. This is going to affect you. Now, before we get started, my name is Sean. I have a background in tech, and this channel is all about AI, and especially AI's effect on humanity. Now, even though I do have a background in tech, and I've helped move things forward during my lifetime, I can't help but think that because this change is happening so fast, and nobody's really thinking about the consequences, and I'm talking about higher up, the people that are really pushing this, it's going to have a massive human toll. There is going to be great human suffering, and I will explain why. If you guys are fascinated by AI, which is completely misnamed, it is artificial, but it is not intelligent. These are just machines running software that they're just running a code. And they have a set of rules to follow, and they have a set of training, but it's not intelligent. And the other thing I really want you guys to completely redesign your thinking on this. I'm talking to you, the average person. When you think of AI, and I'm talking about like ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, all these, I want you to visualize this. AI is not something that is magical and out there somewhere and it's just doing this stuff. I want you to imagine the physical building that AI is inside. Now, in the past, these server buildings, these data centers, were just plain old buildings and a whole bunch of servers inside, and they were, doing things, and that's related to like the cloud storage and all that. But what I'm about to tell you is AI has changed how these buildings are. A building that is specifically for AI, as an LLM, I want you to imagine this building instead of having all these little, thousands of computers inside of it. I want you to imagine that this one building is a supercomputer. The whole building equals a supercomputer. It is a beast. This thing doesn't care if the power gets removed from it. Soon as the power comes back online, it just continues on doing what it was doing. Nothing was lost. And so as they put up these beast buildings, and they put them in areas close to you, because the further away they are, the slower they are. And that's why they're putting them in Europe right now. They're putting them in large population centers so that these AI, LLM beast buildings can interact with you, because these large companies are in an arms race right now. They are creating this thing without any thought on what it's going to do to people. And I'm going to explain what it's already doing to people. All right, so the first part of the AI phase, it was scraping the internet of human works. And I'm talking about books. And here's some statistics. Over 183,000 pirated books, including works by Stephen King and Margaret Atwood and more. They were found in the data sets of these LLMs. It's not just books, but even stuff I worked on in the past is in there. Nobody gave this permission to do this, but it's all been scooped up. Artwork. Millions of artwork scraped from DeviantArt, ArtStation, Pinterest without permission. When these things are doing the image generation and you're using it to create images, you'll notice sometimes there's like a little weird distorted watermark. What that means is it has stolen a human works. It has stolen a human picture. It modified it just enough, but it wasn't accurate enough to remove that. So that's gone. The other thing that's happened is software developers who have put their code online, that's been taken. And currently, AI is really not generating its own code. It's using human code and it's rearranging it. And a lot of times it's very inaccurate, but it's doing it. So this is the first part of this that is disturbing. It's just the robbing of humanity. But the second thing I'm about to tell you is, I think, even worse, and it's happening right now. Let me tell you about something. There's a job called a rater, R-A-T-E-R. A lot of you guys don't know what that is. But this is where the big AI companies are going to suck us dry. Now, let me explain what a rater is. Now, when these LLMs are being trained, they used to have like an average everyday person sit there and answer, is this output from the LLM a good answer or a bad answer? And they would rate it. And that's kind of where bias and stuff like that came in. But now, recently, these companies are using these high-level people for raters. They're using people with master's degrees, PhDs, a lot of PhDs. And they're hired to refine AI's outputs. Now, what's really crappy about this is the large AI companies, they don't hire these people directly. What they do is they hire a subcontractor, and that subcontractor hires these people, and then they are not given any benefits. They're just tapped. And so what's happening is, just as an example, there's a company called GlobalLogic, and it was hired by Google, and they were making about $28 to $32 an hour. And what's going on is the AI companies are trying to get all knowledge from people with degrees. And once they have it, within just months of these guys getting a job, they're fired. Immediately fired. No regard to that at all. And the goal of these AI companies is to make these LLMs, large language models, have so much knowledge taken from humans that when they have dozens of these PhDs or people with master's degrees train these things, their end result is the LLM is going to replace thousands and thousands of people with those degrees. All it takes is a few of these guys to train it to replace thousands of them. And so they're doing this, And what we're seeing is, like GlobalLogic, soon as the workers at GlobalLogic actually were talking about they want some job security, they want some rights. They were even possibly talking about unionizing. And Google just severed the contract with them, and GlobalLogic let 200 of them go right away. And this is just a small example of what's going on. XAI has been dumping people on a large scale too. There's a lot of this going on where they tap the human mind, their experience, everything. Then they throw them to the curb. There's no care about the person. You just got to keep the beast going. You've got to keep it being fed with information. And so right now, a lot of these PhDs are starting to be unemployed. And I know some of you guys don't feel bad for people with PhDs or master's degrees, but some of them went to school for a very long time. And I know they shouldn't expect life will never change, but got a lot of people that, they put years of effort into something and even worked in some of these fields, and they're being discarded, which is lowering the wage that they're being paid right now. They are making less than they were originally. Now, there is a subset of these educated people that is being tapped right now that are making like $100,000 a year. But they'll be lucky to make it through the year to make that much. As soon as it is determined they have put in enough, they are fired. They are let go. So the average rater, which is another way of saying trainer in specialized fields, they are now making less per hour than a manager at a fast food restaurant. Right now, higher level, intellectual people who went to school to study things, who've worked in fields, are now a dime a dozen. There is zero job security for any of them. Now, why does that affect you? Let's say you don't work around people like that. Well, some of them are having to go work at McDonald's. There are going to be a lot of people who are desperate. You can't sit around forever not having a job. You have to earn some kind of wage to pay for your food and housing. Everything's expensive right now, especially insurance that we're all required to have. And these guys are not making it. And what's really sad is that when they go to apply for a job posting comes up on major websites. Most of the applicants are AI. I'm not talking about humans. There are these specialized AI, we'll call them agents. Their entire job is to find someone a job. And so when these things are posted, a lot of these companies get absolutely thousands of results, but the AI agent is representing the person instead of the person putting up their resume directly and interviewing directly. Everything has become impersonal. Everything is really fake right now. Now, what I would have to say is there's a cycle that these companies are going through right now. Step one, they hire the experts with advanced degrees. Step two, they extract their specialized knowledge to refine the training data. Step three, they fire them. Once they have the information, it doesn't matter how long it's been. If it's been a month, if it's been 6 months, they get fired. So I have examples here of just hundreds and hundreds of people at different companies that have already been fired this way. And like I said, the end result is not to keep hiring people like this. The end result is that these LLMs are smart enough to give you, I would call a substandard product, because I don't think they're as good as humans. It's kind of like in my lifetime, my family, they're all in business. My dad has a lot of patents, and a lot of my family has invented things. And a lot of our things have been stolen and produced very cheaply in China and then imported back into the United States for less money than my dad's company could even pay for the materials to make it. Now, my dad's products were high quality because he cared when a person was using this tool that it worked well and it would last them for years. Well, the imitation knockoffs that came in from China were often lasting people just a short time. They didn't work as well, but yet the masses bought them because they thought, that's so cheap, I will just buy that and use it till it breaks, and then I'll buy another one. AI is very similar to that. Humans have the best knowledge. AI is going to take and tap all this human knowledge and repackage it into something fast, cheap, but substandard. You know what? I'm really irritated with this because I have to tell you something about me. I grew up in a family that we all had businesses. My grandpa had a business, not a big business. My grandpa had a welding shop. He was the only employee other than having his kids work in it. I kind of grew up the same way. But when my dad invented something in 1986 or 87, his first tool, and it really took off, you know, I'm very familiar with how the American dream, how capitalism kind of works well. You know, when you put love into something and you want to give the public something amazing, money comes back. So I grew up on that side of things. I also was never really a big fan of unions, labor unions, because early on in my life, I was up in Minnesota, and in the 1970s, I think, the air traffic controllers went on strike there, and I remember seeing them really being violent. As I never understood this as a kid because I didn't know how it all worked, but a car would try to drive into the air traffic control center, and these guys, I didn't understand why, because they lived in our town, they were breaking the windshields of the cars and just pounding on people. Now, I guess I should say that was probably the 1980s, because I remember that Ronald Reagan fired all them, and then they secretly all went back to work. But see, that was my first experience with labor unions. So that was ingrained in me that I thought these guys are pretty terrible people. But now, I've been married for a very long time, and my wife comes from a different side of things. My wife's family were from the coal mines in West Virginia and places like that. And that situation, once you realize what was going on there, the labor unions were very, very needed. The mines were not only exploiting these people, but putting them in situations where they get cancer and black lung and everything, and the conditions are bad, they're dying. The mining company didn't care because they just replace you and they hardly pay you. And yes, it is true that they ran the stores in these remote towns where the mines were, and they would give them food and everything on credit, but they owed the company store. So now, over the years, I have realized labor unions have their place. And then there's other times when I just think, they're wanting something more than the rest of us have. They're milking it. But there is a balance here. Now, how does this relate to AI? Right now, these large companies, and I'm going to let you imagine who they are. These companies that are behind AI are the ones that run the search engines. They have the software on your phone. They have their hands in everything. I'm talking about Microsoft, Google, Apple, XAI, OpenAI. And I think when a tech bubble bursts, you're going to see a lot of smaller companies go down, but you will not see Google go down. These big ones are going to be left standing. And when I say they're big, I'm saying Google is not just a search engine. Look up what Google owns, what they're doing. They're in everything, and they're looking to be in everything. Every part of your life, from your car to everything, your home. And these large tech companies are getting around the human factor by hiring subcontractors. They're milking the information, and then they're throwing people to the curb. And right now, all these younger people who are just getting out of college, and they have tech degrees of some sort, there are so many of them that can't get jobs. A lot of these workers that are being hired to suck their brains dry are actually really experienced in some of these fields. But the world is heading towards something really terrible, and it's heading there really fast. If you guys have heard that it's even going faster than the tech companies even expected. There's an example of a massive data center was being constructed in Texas. It went up and it was almost 3/4 of the way done, completed. They excavated all this land and built this building, and now it's gone. 3/4 of the way done, and they dismantled the entire thing because it is obsolete. And this happened in less than 24 months. This is moving faster than they even thought. And what's disturbing to me about this is that the tech companies do not care about you. They don't. They don't care if they are consuming people. They don't have any care in the world whether someone makes a living wage. And that's why a lot of them are pushing that universal basic income, because they already know logically there are going to be millions of people out of work. And if you're not in tech, having millions of people out of work means there are more people trying to be electricians, more people trying to get that janitor job. And if there's more people trying to get a job, the company can ask or offer less per hour. A job that used to be $20 an hour can be $15. A job that used to be $40 an hour can be $20. That's what this causes. So you have all these people unemployed, wages are going down, and nobody higher up cares right now. You don't hear politicians talking about this. I truly believe that most of them are corrupted. You know, you like to think that your guy is above board, and no, I think that money is at play when it comes to politics. And I think a lot of these big companies can crush a politician if they want to. Now, what's scary about the AI companies is they actually help control the information. So it's not like it used to be where they just crush you in other ways. Now they can completely put out false information about someone and destroy them. And there's nothing they can do about it. So a lot of these politicians and leaders have to play along. Now, I don't hate everybody that's in power and all that kind of stuff, but I was watching yesterday over in Britain, the state dinner. And I was watching Trump sitting there with King Charles and all the other people, and I've been talking about this stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at them. They invited all these big AI players to be there. These big, powerful AI CEOs are completely walking hand in hand with the world leaders, making deals to set up a beast building near you. And don't forget, guys, Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, he said in his own words, he would like to put AI in the hands of everybody on Earth, especially those in third world countries. His idea for that was to equalize things so they get a chance. But what chance does anybody have when these big companies are just consuming humans? You know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news all the time to you guys. And I'm not sure how people can influence this, because those who are controlling it are so powerful right now that there's almost no stopping this. You just can't get the people of Earth to rise up. They won't. Most people are ignorant. So what do we do in the meanwhile? In the meanwhile, knowing about it, although it stresses a person out, is probably a good thing. If you know what's going on, you can try to avoid some of these things that are taking a lot of people down right now. And if you have kids that are going to be graduating and looking at a career, they need to kind of adjust their thinking because things aren't the same as they used to be years ago. I mean, it was several years ago. It was like 3 or 4 years ago that the average lifespan of a software developer, and I'm not talking about when they die, I'm talking about when their career ends, is the age of 35. They have from the time they got out of college to the time till 35 years of age is the average when they no longer can be in that career. They're let go. They are discriminated against because companies are hiring younger people because, number one, younger people work for less. They'll work longer hours. They're not as wise. They're not as wise as the older people, but the companies are doing that substandard trade-off where they're getting the most they can for the least amount of money. And I'll tell you what, just me being involved in keeping up with this and having a tech background myself, even currently, I have a software company. I am just blown away by how fast this is moving. And it is a thing of nightmares. This is not great. This is not even fun for me to talk about. I started this channel. This had nothing to do with making any money. This has to do with I've seen this coming and I've had dreams about this since I was a kid. And I really feel like I need to let people know about what's going on and do my best to help people and give them ideas on how to be a little less impacted by all of this. But I don't need this channel. This is more of a mission to me. I have a job. I own my own software company. But I can't help but really hurt inside for all the people that are going to be devastated by this. I've seen this thing take off and change month by month. I say one thing about AI last month, and then this month it changed. It's moving so fast, it's catching everybody off guard, including software developers that are using AI. They're setting up these AI systems 2 months ago that are obsolete today. Even they're having a hard time with this. But you know who wins? The people in power. The big tech companies, and I'm not talking about everybody who works there, I'm talking about the ones who run them. They're the winners. They're the ones that'll come out on top. This whole system is going to end up controlling every human on Earth. And I know I take some flack for this, but this has been foretold for at least 2,000 years. That this is going to happen. There is going to be a beast system that will control, especially, all things that are bought and sold. It is going to control where humans are allowed to come and go. And in order to better control everything, in order to fight back against anybody opposing it, there will be something on the order of a microchip, but it's not going to be exactly like a microchip. It's going to be much more advanced than that. And it will be placed, I believe, somewhere on your head. And the reason for that is because people can be missing arms and missing legs, but you can't be missing your head. And most people will accept this and get it. There will be a few that oppose it. And it's not going to turn out too good for them here on Earth. But this is where it's heading. And the reason people will accept this is because the big companies, the world leaders, are going to let everybody know there's an enemy out there. Everything bad is because of fear. It's going to say this enemy is out there, and we need to protect ourselves from this enemy. So, if everybody just gets this thing, we'll find out who the enemy really is. You know, people are sold a lot of really horrible ideas based on fear. If we let the enemy win, it's going to destroy us all. So then we let them do stuff to us. Look at the pandemic. What a crap show that was. So anyway, some of you guys, this is going to resonate with you. You know, just keep in mind when you're living your life and you're working, raising your family and things like that, just remember I'm just keeping up on this stuff, and I'll let you know along the way as things change. And if someday I'm missing, it's because they didn't want you to hear what I have to say. So anyway, guys, I hate to give such bad news, but I had to get it out. So, all right, guys, that's about it. Just remember, for everything we gain, there's something lost. So, catch you later. Bye.